the transaction of cutting Lonnie Johnson, obviously just the 2024 conditional 7th they gave up. But that's not nothing. They did invest time and energy and effort into him, who's still a pretty young player, still has upside in the NFL, still could fill a role. We were talking a couple months ago, back in May when it happened, this guy could play legitimate snaps, may even start week 1 if something happened where Rashad Fenton didn't recover in time or something like that. Now he's cut. And it's not like a 80 to 53. It was a 90 to 85. Like, he got cut early. So I think, for me at least, this says a lot about the Chiefs youth movement at cornerback. It's L'Jarius Sneed. It's Trent McDuffie. It's Jalen Watson. It's Joshua Williams. It's all those guys. DiCaprio Bootle. It's like the Chiefs don't feel like they need veteran / guys that have already been in other systems that come in and now are trying to resurrect themselves almost. They are banking on the guys they've scouted internally through the draft and through undrafted free agency, stuff like that. The typical Chiefs cornerback MO, these late round picks, they're doing with that. And I think it's interesting that they're doing it. It's one hell of a gamble. Obviously, losing Lonnie Johnson isn't going to doom the Chiefs this season or anything. But I find that interesting. He didn't have to be an early cut. It could have been like a kudos Chiefs, go see if you can latch on with another team type thing. But nonetheless, that youth movement, man, whether people want it to or not, it's happening.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. I mean, we always talk about, they drafted Trent McDuffie in the first round. They traded up to get him. So we can't say that they're not really investing in the cornerback spot all the time, but we have seen it happen quite a bit. And even with Snead a couple of years ago, you see them get these guys late in the first or later in the draft. McDuffie is really the first one since Marcus Peters that they took earlier than the 3rd round, I would say, or 4th even.
Yeah.
So they've done pretty well though. So I can't say that Veach's way is not the right way. I think it's probably the right way if we're going through it and looking at what they've done with the roster. So just going through it, yeah, it's nice to see those young guys eating up the snaps. Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, I think 2 of the top 3 guys in snap counts from this last week, including special teams. So it's nice to see the rookies getting that run because from what I've heard, I've said in previous podcasts, I am not able to get up to camp this year, but from what I've heard, they've had pretty good camps. So it's nice to see it out there in the preseason game.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't really get anything else at this point. Like, obviously, people want to say, and I've been maybe the poster boy of this, like, let's not overreact to training camp and preseason and all that good stuff. It's all we've got. It's all that we've seen so far. So to say guys played well, they played well. You can't really argue any otherwise. But the thing is, a lot of that, it happened with OTAs into training camp, rookie mini camp into training camp, rookie mini camp into OTA, like stuff like that, where every progression, I guess, that goes up, it kind of filters some people out. Like, some guys look good in shorts, like practicing, they're fast, they're well built, all that stuff. People fall for that like facade, then they get the pads on, and then you're like, well, this guy looks fine, like maybe they're a little bit slower or something like that, or the physicality matches up and they don't. Training camp, same thing. Some of those short warriors, I guess, now are not necessarily guys with pads on that are warriors. Now Isaiah Pacheco has been one that transcended all of that and has been fantastic. Yes, I said it, he's been fantastic. Jordan Foote said that. But it's interesting, man. And I'm not saying Lonnie Johnson didn't play well in training camp. Like, his name wasn't being called. He wasn't getting good run. Again, I'm one of the guys that's like, don't put too much stock into those snap counts and stuff like that. But at a certain point, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 deep at a position and you're one of the last guys up routinely, that's no longer an anomaly or an isolated incident. It's a trend. And Lonnie Johnson was just on the wrong side of that trend.
And something you mentioned about this is kind of the first time we've seen him. It's true. I mean, some of those guys like Joshua Williams, he was at a school that you wouldn't see regularly on ESPN, you know?
Yeah.
So if you stay up late, you could see Jalen Watson in Washington State. He's the Cougar, right?
Yeah. Pac-12 after dark, baby.
Yeah, Pac-12 after dark. Trent McDuffie, I like Washington. I'm a Washington guy, so I kept up with DBU a little bit last year. But yeah, it's some of these lesser known DBs, I guess you could say. This is our first time really getting to see him in action. So that's another reason why it's exciting too. Lonnie Johnson wasn't as exciting for me. I've seen him get roasted by the Chiefs before.